They wanted to sell her as beef, but a rancher changed her destiny forever. In a small, dusty village surrounded by open fields and narrow dirt roads, a little cow named Bella was born. From the very beginning, her life was different from the carefree lives animals often dream of in stories. She entered the world under the heavy shadow of a reality she could not yet understand. The farm she was born into was not like the green, peaceful pastures one might imagine. The fences were old and worn, the barn smelled of straw mixed with dust, and the air carried the faint tension of worry. Her mother, a gentle cow with tired eyes, had seen many calves come and go, but she knew that not all of them would live full lives. Bella was small and fragile when she was born. Her legs trembled as she tried to stand, and her soft, brown eyes blinked at the world, unsure and curious. She quickly learned to follow her mother wherever she went, trusting her instinctively. The early days were filled with warmth from her mother and the few moments of safety she could find in the barn. Yet, the sounds of the farm told her that danger was never far. The sharp voices of the farm workers, the clatter of metal gates, and the occasional roar of trucks in the distance hinted at a reality that was far harsher than the comfort of the barn. As Bella grew, she began to notice things other calves did not. She watched the older cows being led away one by one. Some returned, but many did not. Whispers traveled across the farm about where they went, and she slowly realized that it was not a journey of joy or care, but one of fear and loss. Her mother tried to shield her from the truth, nudging her gently and keeping her close, but even the softest whispers of warning could not hide reality forever. Bella sensed it, not fully understanding but feeling it in the pit of her small belly, the fear, the coldness, the end of life that awaited those chosen by the humans to leave. The owners of the farm were struggling to survive. Every day they counted expenses, measured their crops, and looked at their animals as sources of income rather than companions. Bella's life, like the other young calves, was measured in potential profit. They saw her not as a living being capable of love and thought, but as a number, a future meal, a commodity. She was too young to comprehend this, yet the tension in the air was clear enough for her to feel it. She would hear the discussions of prices, the comparison of her size to that of others, and the casual way her fate was planned without a single thought about her happiness or well-being. Even within this harsh environment, Bella was naturally curious and playful. She would wander a little in the barn, touch her nose to the rough wooden beams, sniff the corners, and explore the small world she could reach. Her legs were clumsy, and she would stumble over hay piles or small stones, but every fall was followed by determination. She had a spark in her, an energy that made her push forward despite the limitations of her surroundings. Sometimes she would peek through the fence at the fields beyond the farm, imagining a life where she could run freely, where the grass was soft and endless, and where the sky felt like it belonged to her. These moments were fleeting but powerful, planting tiny seeds of hope in her young heart. The other animals on the farm had their own ways of coping. Older cows had grown numb to the routine of life and death that surrounded them. Chickens scurried nervously for food, goats bleated constantly, and the occasional dog barked with a mix of duty and boredom. Bella, being young, had not yet learned to harden her spirit. She felt everything deeply: the sadness of the ones who never returned, the tension of the farmhands' voices, the cold metal of the fences, and the warmth of her mother's body when she huddled close at night. Her emotions were raw and powerful, giving her a sense of awareness that was unusual for a calf so young. One day, a rumor spread across the farm that shook Bella to her core, even though she could not fully understand it. Her mother had spoken to her in hushed, low tones, trying to explain that soon, humans would make a decision that could end her life. The adults spoke of trucks, of markets, of the place where cows were taken to be sold as meat. Bella did not know what meat truly meant, but the fear in the voices of the older cows and the trembling in her mother's body told her everything she needed to know. Something dangerous was coming, something final, and it was out of her control. From that moment, Bella's days changed. She became cautious, watching every movement of the farmhands, sensing the direction of every footstep and the weight of every voice. She would huddle closer to her mother, seeking reassurance in the warmth and familiarity of the soft hide against hers. Her playful explorations became short and careful, and her curiosity was tempered with fear. She began to notice patterns: the arrival of strangers, the opening of gates, the sounds of distant engines, and the whispers of adults that spoke of her potential future. Despite this fear, Bella was not without her moments of light. Occasionally, the sun would break through the dust and clouds, illuminating the barn in warm, golden beams. She would run a little in these moments, kicking up hay, letting her legs stretch freely, and feeling the breeze on her face. These were fleeting glimpses of the freedom she longed for, and they reminded her that life could hold joy even in small doses. Her heart, though young, held both fear and hope, fear for the unknown and hope for something better, though she could not name it yet. The villagers, though busy with their own lives, sometimes took notice of Bella. Children would peer through the fence, offering bits of leftover vegetables or soft words. Bella, initially cautious, began to recognize kindness where it existed, her gentle eyes meeting theirs with curiosity and trust. These small acts reminded her that not all humans were cruel or indifferent, planting the first seeds of belief that perhaps, just perhaps, there was someone who would see her not as a commodity but as a living being with thoughts, feelings, and a right to live. As days turned into weeks, Bella grew stronger, her legs more confident, her eyes brighter, and her spirit more aware of the world around her. Yet, the threat of being sold for meat loomed over her like a shadow that followed her wherever she went. The farm, once merely a place of shelter, had become a place of tension, where every noise, every step, and every conversation carried a weight that pressed down on her small body. She learned to listen, to observe, and to anticipate. Survival, she realized, was more than just standing on her legs. It was about understanding the world, reading the people around her, and finding small ways to hold on to life. At night, Bella would lie close to her mother, feeling the rise and fall of her breathing. She would close her eyes, imagining a life where the field stretched endlessly, where no humans would dictate her fate, and where the world felt safe. These dreams, though fragile, gave her strength. They reminded her that life, no matter how small or threatened, was worth holding onto. Each day that she survived, each moment she spent breathing freely, even in the shadow of fear, was a victory in itself. Bella's early life, though marked by fear and uncertainty, also shaped her into a cow with resilience, awareness, and the faintest glimmer of hope. She was not yet aware of what the future would hold, nor did she know that someone beyond her small world was watching, ready to change her fate forever. But in these first days and weeks, she learned something vital. Even in the harshest places, even when surrounded by danger, the spirit of a living being could endure, adapt, and quietly dream of a better life. Her story was only beginning. The darkness that loomed over her was real, but so was her instinct to survive, to hope, and to notice the small moments of kindness and light. Bella, the small calf born into a world of fear, was ready to face the challenges ahead, though she could not yet imagine the incredible change that destiny had in store for her. As Bella grew older, the world around her grew larger and at the same time more frightening. The days of hiding in the corner of the barn and quietly observing had given way to a restless curiosity. Her legs were stronger now, able to carry her across the small farmyard with a light bounce. She would run a few steps, kicking up hay and dust, and sometimes, when the sunlight streamed through the cracks in the barn, it made her coat shine in golden hues. But alongside this growth came an increasing awareness of the danger that surrounded her. The whispers among the older cows were no longer distant rumors. They spoke openly of trucks arriving, of pens being emptied, and of calves being chosen for a life they could not escape. Bella felt a knot of fear in her stomach whenever she overheard these conversations. She did not fully understand the human words, but the tone, the urgency, and the sadness were unmistakable. Her heart would beat faster, and she would press herself closer to her mother or the fence, trying to make herself small and invisible. Despite her young age, Bella understood that something serious was approaching, something that could end her life before it truly began. Every day, Bella noticed the people who visited the farm. Some were strangers, unfamiliar faces who walked quickly, examining the animals and pointing to certain calves. They smelled different, carried papers, and occasionally loaded one or two animals onto a truck. Bella learned to watch them carefully, hiding in the shadows when they came near. She noticed the trucks that roared across the dusty road and the way the older cows would stiffen when they saw them. Something about the noise made her anxious, as if it carried the scent of fear itself. Among the visitors, one man stood out. He was a rancher from a nearby farm, a quiet, observant person who rarely spoke loudly but always seemed to notice everything. He came to the area for business, checking the livestock and making small conversations with the farm owners. Bella, hidden behind the barn, noticed him immediately. There was a calmness in his voice, a gentleness in his eyes, that was different from the hurried and sometimes harsh humans she had seen before. Something about him made her instinctively watch him longer than the others, as if she could sense that his presence carried more than just routine business. Days passed, and the tension on the farm grew. Bella had begun to recognize the signs of danger. She could tell when the farm owners were discussing her fate, whispering about her size and age, comparing her to others. Even when they tried to hide it, Bella could hear the worry in their voices, though it was not her well-being that concerned them, but the profit they could gain. The very air seemed thick with anticipation and anxiety. Bella's once playful spirit had learned caution. She no longer wandered freely but observed, calculated, and waited. Her eyes, once wide with innocent curiosity, now held a hint of wisdom and wariness beyond her months. One afternoon, Bella noticed a small group of people moving quickly toward the barn. Her mother nudged her back into the shadows, whispering softly, and Bella obeyed, pressing herself against the cold wooden wall. She felt her legs tremble, her ears pricked toward every sound. The humans spoke in hurried tones, their voices carrying urgency and authority. The farm dogs barked and ran in circles, sensing the tension. Bella's heart raced as she realized that the moment they had feared might be drawing closer. The decision about who would be taken, who would be sold, was near. The rancher, observing quietly from a distance, noticed Bella's reactions. He had been coming to the area for weeks, and each visit had revealed something unusual about this small cow. She was alert, intelligent, and sensitive, more aware than most calves he had seen. Her eyes carried a depth of emotion, a spark of life that refused to be extinguished even in the face of fear. Something about her presence touched him, though he could not yet explain why. He felt compelled to pay attention, to watch, and perhaps to act if the opportunity arose. That day, the farm owners spoke openly about their plan to sell Bella. They argued about the timing, the price, and which buyers would take her. Bella's heart sank with each word she did not fully understand. She only knew that her life, once hers to live, was being decided by people who saw her as nothing more than an object to be traded. Her mother stayed close, her body pressed against Bella's, as if trying to shield her from the harsh reality. Yet, despite the fear, Bella began to feel something new, an instinct to survive, to watch, and a hope, even when hope seemed impossible. The next few days were filled with preparation on the farm. The pens were cleaned and rearranged, the trucks polished and ready, and the humans moved with a purpose that carried tension like a cloud over the barn. Bella learned to notice the subtle signs, the creak of the gates, the movement of ropes, the tone of voices that shifted when they thought no calf was listening. She became cautious, almost silent, walking lightly on her hooves and observing every movement. Her instincts sharpened, and her fear became a form of awareness, a way to survive in a world that offered little protection. Meanwhile, the rancher continued to watch from a distance. He saw Bella's reactions and recognized a unique quality in her. Unlike the other calves, who were often timid or overly playful without thought, Bella showed a combination of intelligence, awareness, and sensitivity. She seemed to understand danger, to read the human's intentions, and to respond with caution. The rancher, who had seen many animals in his lifetime, felt an unusual connection. He knew that if fate allowed, he could intervene and change her life forever. One late afternoon, a truck finally arrived. The air was thick with tension, and Bella's mother nudged her close, whispering reassurance through gentle movements. The farmhands were busy loading other animals first, but Bella could sense the moment was near. Her legs trembled as she hid in the corner of the pen, her eyes wide and alert. She felt the presence of the rancher nearby, watching quietly from the edge of the farm, and though she did not understand who he was, she instinctively felt a flicker of hope in his calm demeanor. The rancher stepped closer, approaching the farm owners with a polite but firm voice. He spoke of Bella, pointing out her gentle nature, her intelligence, and her potential for a life beyond the slaughterhouse. The owners, initially reluctant, argued about money, about profit, about the routine they had followed for years. But the rancher remained persistent, offering a solution that could save Bella's life. He negotiated with patience and determination, and slowly the owners agreed to let him take her. Bella, though unsure of what was happening, felt the change in the air. Something was shifting, and it felt like an opportunity to escape the fate that had loomed over her since birth. When the moment came to move Bella, she hesitated for a brief second, unsure of the human's intentions. But the rancher spoke softly, his voice calm and steady, and Bella felt a strange comfort in it. She followed him cautiously, her hooves stepping lightly on the ground as he led her toward the truck that would take her away from the farm and toward a life she could only dream of. Her mother watched, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and sadness, knowing that Bella's path would now be different from the harsh reality that had shaped the farm. As the truck carried Bella away, she looked back at the farm that had been both her home and her prison. The fields, the barn, the other animals, all of it passed by, leaving a trail of memories that would never fully fade. But in her heart, she carried the spark of hope, the instinct to survive, and the awareness that her life was no longer entirely in the hands of fear. She had been given a chance, a rare opportunity that not all animals receive, and though the journey ahead was unknown, she felt a sense of cautious optimism. The rancher, meanwhile, remained a silent guardian on this first leg of Bella's new journey. He watched her closely, ensuring that she remained calm and safe, speaking softly when she hesitated and guiding her gently when she grew anxious. He could see the trauma of her early life still present in her eyes, but he also saw the resilience and intelligence that had drawn him to her in the first place. He knew that with care, patience, and love, Bella could thrive, forgetting the shadows of her past and embracing a life full of freedom and security. By the time the sun set, Bella had arrived at the rancher's farm. The air was different here, cleaner, filled with the scent of grass, earth, and open skies. She could hear the sounds of other animals, not in fear but in comfort and safety. The gates were wide, the field stretched far, and the barn was sturdy and welcoming. Bella stepped forward cautiously, her hooves sinking slightly into the soft earth, and for the first time she felt a true sense of relief. She was not yet free of fear, but the danger that had haunted her since birth was gone, replaced by a strange, comforting calm. That evening, Bella lay down under the stars, her body tired but her mind alert. She remembered the farm she had left behind, the trucks, the whispers, and the fear, but she also felt the first taste of hope, a feeling that would grow stronger each day. She realized that her life had changed forever, not by accident, but by the care and determination of someone who saw her not as a commodity, but as a living being deserving of life. In that moment, Bella's journey of survival and trust had truly begun. Bella's first day at the rancher's farm was unlike anything she had ever experienced. The moment she stepped off the truck, the fresh, open air hit her senses. The smell of grass was strong and sweet, a stark contrast to the dusty, straw-scented barn she had grown up in. The sound of birds singing, leaves rustling, and distant animal calls filled her ears. For a small calf who had known only fear and confinement, it was overwhelming yet strangely comforting. She hesitated for a moment, glancing back toward the truck, expecting to see the harsh faces of humans who would decide her fate. But the rancher's calm voice called softly, "Come on, Bella, it's okay, you're safe now." Something about the way he spoke made her pause, then slowly, cautiously, she took a step forward. Her hooves sank slightly into the soft earth, and she felt a strange, warm freedom in every movement. For the first time, she realized that not all humans brought fear or danger. Some could bring care, protection, and safety. The rancher led Bella toward the barn, which was clean, sturdy, and inviting. It smelled of hay, fresh water, and something faintly sweet, the scent of safety and comfort. Inside, other animals moved calmly, without fear or stress. There were a few older cows, their coats shiny and their eyes bright, who observed Bella with curiosity rather than judgment. Chickens wandered freely, pecking at grains on the floor, and a gentle dog wagged its tail as it approached. Bella had never seen such a peaceful environment. She hesitated near the entrance, unsure if it was safe to fully enter, but the rancher knelt down and extended his hand gently, letting her sniff it. The warmth of his touch reassured her, and she stepped inside. The first challenge was trust. Bella had spent months learning that humans were unpredictable and often dangerous. Her instincts told her to be cautious, to watch every movement, and to stay close to corners where she could hide. Yet she also felt something new stirring within her, a desire to explore, to experience this place fully, and to learn that life could be different. She moved slowly, sniffing the hay, touching her nose to the barn walls, and listening to the calm voices of the rancher as he spoke softly, explaining simple things to her in a gentle tone. Though she didn't understand the words fully, the meaning was clear. She was safe here. The rancher showed her the pasture for the first time. Bella's eyes widened as she looked across the wide, open field. The grass stretched endlessly, soft and green, with the occasional wildflower dotting the landscape. Trees provided shade and a small stream sparkled in the sunlight, reflecting the sky. Bella felt a tug in her chest, a mix of fear and excitement. She had never known such freedom. The pastures at her old farm had been small and crowded, with little room to move or explore. Here she could run, jump, and even play if she wished. Tentatively, she stepped out onto the grass, her hooves sinking into the soft earth. She took a few cautious steps, then broke into a small trot, feeling the wind brush against her coat. Over the next few days, Bella began to explore her new home more confidently. The rancher gave her time and space, never forcing her into situations she wasn't ready for. He provided fresh water and hay, showing her where to find food and encouraging her to eat, though he never rushed her. Slowly, Bella learned that food and safety were no longer linked to fear. She could approach freely, and no one would harm her. This was a lesson she had not known before, and it filled her with a growing sense of trust and security. Her days were soon filled with gentle routines. In the morning, she would wake to the soft sunlight streaming through the barn windows. The rancher would check on her, talking softly and stroking her coat, which she had learned to accept without fear. She began to notice the other animals as well, older cows who had been rescued like her, goats who played in the fields, and a few rescued horses who moved gracefully across the pastures. They all seemed relaxed, happy, and free. Bella began to understand that she was part of something larger, a sanctuary where animals were valued and cared for, not used or sold. Play became a new and exciting part of her life. Bella would chase after butterflies, run across the field in bursts of energy, and nuzzle other cows in gentle greeting. For a calf who had known only fear and confinement, each playful moment was a revelation. She began to discover joy in movement, in companionship, and in the simple pleasure of being alive. The rancher watched with a quiet smile, recognizing the transformation happening within her. Each day, Bella became less cautious, more confident, and more curious. Her eyes, once wide with fear, now held a glimmer of happiness. Bella's bond with the rancher grew stronger every day. She learned to recognize his voice, the sound of his footsteps, and the warmth of his touch. When she was nervous or uncertain, he would speak softly, guiding her gently and never forcing her to do anything she wasn't ready for. In return, Bella began to follow him around the farm, trusting him more with each passing day. She would nuzzle his hand when he reached out, respond to his calls, and even rest near him during the hottest parts of the day. Their relationship was built on patience, respect, and care, a stark contrast to the fear and uncertainty of her early life. The rancher also introduced her to the other rescued animals slowly. Bella watched as the older cows approached him without fear, and she observed how they interacted with each other, nuzzling, playing, and resting together. She realized that animals could have relationships based on trust and kindness, not just fear and survival. Bella began to form tentative friendships, rubbing noses with a gentle cow named Daisy and playing lightly with a young goat named Max. Each interaction taught her more about companionship, empathy, and trust. Despite the safety and comfort, Bella still carried memories of fear. At times, loud noises would startle her, and she would run to the barn corners, heart racing, expecting danger. Trucks passing by on distant roads, sudden loud voices, or even the rustling of leaves in the wind could bring flashes of the past. But the rancher was always there, patient and calm, reassuring her that she was safe. Slowly, these moments became less frequent, and Bella began to associate the world with possibility rather than danger. The stream became one of Bella's favorite places. She would stand at the edge, watching the water ripple and reflect the sunlight. At first, she was cautious, dipping a hoof carefully to test the depth. Eventually, she learned to drink freely, the water refreshing her body and calming her mind. The rancher would sometimes sit nearby, reading a book or simply watching her, and Bella felt a deep sense of security in his presence. These quiet moments taught her that the world could be beautiful, calm, and nourishing, a lesson she had never known at her first farm. The pasture offered more than just freedom. It also offered lessons in courage and exploration. Bella began to venture further each day, learning the limits of her surroundings, discovering hidden paths, and even climbing gentle slopes to reach the tops of small hills. From these vantage points, she could see the entire farm, the distant trees, and the endless sky. She realized that life could be vast, full of wonder and possibility. Each new discovery strengthened her spirit, building confidence that had been absent in her early months. Evenings at the rancher's farm were peaceful. The sun would set in beautiful shades of orange and pink, casting long shadows across the fields. Bella would lie down on the soft grass, watching the sky, her body relaxed and her heart calm. She no longer needed to hide in corners or fear the next movement. Instead, she felt the warmth of safety, the comfort of routine, and the promise of another day filled with freedom. These moments became a sanctuary for her mind, a time to heal from the traumas of her early life. Through the weeks, Bella transformed from a timid, cautious calf into a curious, playful and confident young cow. She still remembered the fear of her first farm, but those memories were tempered by the love, care, and security she now experienced. She had discovered the power of trust, the joy of companionship, and the beauty of freedom. The rancher had given her not just a new home, but a chance to grow into the cow she was always meant to be, strong, resilient, and full of life. By the end of her first month at the rancher's farm, Bella had settled fully into her new life. She explored the fields freely, interacted confidently with other animals, and trusted the rancher completely. Each day brought new experiences, small joys and lessons in courage and compassion. Bella's spirit, once shadowed by fear and uncertainty, now shone brightly. She had begun to understand that life could be safe, fulfilling, and even joyful, and that she could be more than a commodity. She could be a being loved, valued, and celebrated. Bella's journey at the rancher's farm was only beginning, but already it had transformed her life. From a small, frightened calf, she was becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. The world, once frightening and uncertain, now offered endless possibilities. She had learned to trust, to play, to explore, and to believe in kindness. And most importantly, she had learned that a single act of compassion, the decision of the rancher to save her, had changed everything. Her destiny was no longer determined by fear. It was now guided by care, freedom, and love. As the weeks passed at the rancher's farm, Bella's confidence grew. She had begun to feel that this place could truly be her home, a sanctuary far from the fear and uncertainty of her early life. Each day, she discovered new corners of the pasture, learning its hidden paths, gentle slopes, and shaded groves beneath the trees. The wide-open spaces made her feel small but also powerful, as if she belonged to the world around her. The wind in her fur and the soft grass under her hooves became symbols of freedom that she had never known before. Bella's bond with the rancher deepened with each passing day. He spent time with her, guiding her gently, showing her where the best grass grew, and letting her approach water sources at her own pace. He never rushed her, and he never forced her to do anything she wasn't ready for. His quiet presence was reassuring. Sometimes he would sit in the grass nearby, simply observing her, allowing her to feel safe while exploring. Bella had learned that patience could be a form of love, and she began to respond to his care in her own ways, nudging his hand with her nose, following him across the pasture, and resting near him when she felt tired. Bella's days were now filled with small adventures. She would run through the fields, feeling the sun warm her back and the wind lift her spirits. She discovered new plants and flowers, sometimes sniffing them curiously, other times stepping carefully around them. She learned to navigate the small stream, splashing gently with her hooves and cooling herself on hot afternoons. Each new experience was a lesson in curiosity, bravery, and the joy of life. She felt her body growing stronger, her legs more confident, and her spirit more resilient. Other animals at the rancher's farm became her friends and companions. Daisy, the gentle older cow, taught her the art of social interaction. Bella watched Daisy approach other cows and animals, offering nuzzles and soft touches, and began to mimic her. Max, the playful young goat, invited her into games of chase and gentle nudging. Bella learned that relationships could be built on trust and kindness, not just fear or dominance. She began to feel a sense of belonging, realizing that she was not alone and that the world could be filled with supportive and caring companions. Even though Bella had found freedom and safety, her past had left marks on her spirit. Loud noises, sudden movements, or unfamiliar voices still made her jump. Sometimes she would run to the far corners of the pasture, heart racing, as if danger were near. But the rancher's calm voice always followed her, reassuring and patient. "It's okay, Bella, you're safe," he would say. Over time, she learned to respond to these words, slowing her steps and relaxing her muscles. Her trust in the rancher helped her heal, and she began to understand that the world could be safe, even when it sometimes seemed frightening. One morning, Bella noticed a new addition to the farm, a small, timid calf that had been rescued from a nearby farm. The little calf was scared, just like Bella had been, and Bella immediately recognized herself in its frightened eyes. She approached slowly, nuzzling the new calf gently. The calf responded with hesitation at first, then began to relax under Bella's calm presence. Bella instinctively became a guide and protector, showing the calf where to find food, water, and safe resting spots. She felt a sense of pride and purpose in helping another, realizing that her own experiences had taught her how to be gentle and patient. The pasture also presented challenges, even though it was safe. Rainstorms brought heavy winds and thunder, which made Bella nervous. She would run to the barn for shelter, her hooves slipping in the wet grass, her ears flattened against her head. But the rancher was always there, calmly guiding her, showing her that the barn was a safe place to wait until the storm passed. After the rain, the fields would glisten with puddles and fresh mud, and Bella would cautiously explore, learning that even after fearsome storms, the world could be beautiful and rewarding. Bella began to enjoy her mornings in particular. The sunrise painted the sky with shades of pink, orange, and gold, and the farm came alive with birds singing and leaves rustling. She would stand at the edge of the field, watching the colors change and the light fill the pasture. Sometimes the rancher would walk alongside her, explaining in soft words about the day ahead, teaching her routines and guiding her through gentle exercises that strengthened her legs and improved her balance. These moments became rituals of learning, comfort, and connection. The seasons changed, and with them, Bella's understanding of the world grew. Spring brought fresh green grass, blooming flowers, and a sense of renewal. Summer brought warm sunlight, long days, and playful energy. Bella learned to enjoy rolling in the soft earth, feeling the sun on her back and chasing Max through the fields. Autumn arrived with cooler breezes, leaves falling in colorful piles, and a sense of reflection. Bella learned to adjust to changes, understanding that life was not always predictable but could be full of beauty if she remained curious and brave. Bella's social skills continued to develop. She learned to communicate with the other animals through gentle nudges, soft vocalizations, and body language. She discovered that trust had to be earned gradually and that patience could foster strong bonds. She played games with Max and the other goats, explored fields with Daisy, and rested alongside the older cows. Each interaction strengthened her confidence and helped her heal from the loneliness and fear she had once known. The rancher occasionally brought visitors to the farm, people who were interested in learning about rescued animals. Bella was initially cautious, stepping back and observing them from a distance. But over time, she began to approach, guided by the rancher's calm encouragement. She would sniff hands, allow gentle touches, and even respond to soft, kind words. Bella learned that not all humans were threatening, that some could offer love and care. This realization was profound, reinforcing the trust she had built with the rancher and her confidence in the world around her. The small stream became a place of joy and reflection. Bella would stand near the flowing water, watching her reflection ripple and shimmer. She sometimes dipped her hooves into the cool water, feeling the gentle current move around them. The stream reminded her of the journey she had taken, from fear and uncertainty to safety and freedom. She thought in her own way about the farm she had left behind and realized how much she had grown. Every ripple in the water seemed to tell her story, whispering that she had survived, learned, and adapted. One afternoon, the rancher introduced Bella to a new companion, a rescued horse named Luna. Luna was gentle and kind, and Bella was curious but cautious at first. They approached each other slowly, sniffing and circling, learning to understand one another. Over time, they became friends, sharing quiet moments in the shade, walking side by side in the pasture and exploring new areas together. Bella discovered that friendships could be diverse and that bonds could form even between animals of different kinds. This realization enriched her life and brought her a deeper sense of belonging. As days turned into weeks, Bella began to show signs of leadership among the younger animals. She would guide new arrivals, help them adjust to the routines of the farm, and provide comfort when they were scared. Her experience of fear and survival had given her wisdom beyond her age, and she instinctively knew how to protect and reassure others. The rancher noticed this transformation with quiet pride, understanding that Bella had not only healed but had become a source of hope and guidance for other animals. Evenings remained a time of reflection and peace. Bella would lie down on the soft grass, her body tired from the day's activities, and watch the sun sink below the horizon. The sky would glow with colors that seemed almost magical, and the gentle breeze would carry the scents of the pasture. These moments were her favorite, times when she could think, rest, and appreciate the life she now had. She realized that freedom was not just about running in the fields or eating fresh grass. It was about feeling safe, loved, and connected. Through all these experiences, Bella grew not only physically but emotionally. She learned patience, empathy, trust, and courage. She discovered the joy of friendship, the beauty of nature, and the strength of resilience. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, and had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. The rancher's care had transformed her life, teaching her that even in the darkest circumstances, hope could flourish and destiny could be changed with love and compassion. Bella's journey at the rancher's farm was far from over, but she had already come a long way. From the frightened calf hiding in corners to the confident, curious, and playful cow she was now becoming, every day was a step toward a brighter future. She had learned that life could be kind, that freedom was precious, and that bonds of love and trust could heal even the deepest wounds. Her past had shaped her, but it no longer defined her. Bella's story was now one of courage, growth, and the endless possibilities that came with safety and care. Over the months, Bella had grown into a strong, confident, and gentle cow. Her coat shone in the sunlight, her eyes held warmth and intelligence, and her steps across the pasture were graceful and steady. The timid, fearful calf that had arrived at the rancher's farm months ago had transformed into an animal full of life, curiosity, and courage. Bella had discovered that the world could be safe, beautiful, and filled with friendship, and she carried this knowledge in every action and glance. The farm itself had become a haven, not just for Bella, but for all the animals who had been rescued. Cows, goats, horses, and even smaller creatures like chickens and ducks moved freely, living their lives without fear. Bella had come to understand her place in this community, not as someone to dominate or be dominated, but as a leader, a friend, and a guide. She had learned to watch over the younger or newer animals, showing them where to find food, water, and safe resting spots. Her gentle nudges, careful steps, and calm demeanor offered reassurance, and the other animals trusted her instinctively. Bella's bond with the rancher remained as strong as ever. He had been her protector, teacher, and companion throughout her journey. Every day, he would walk with her through the pastures, speaking softly and guiding her with patience and care. Bella had learned to respond to his presence instinctively, following his voice, relaxing under his touch, and trusting his judgment. She had discovered that the bond between human and animal could be built on respect, understanding, and love, and that it could heal wounds that fear and cruelty had left behind. One bright morning, the rancher brought a group of children to visit the farm. They were there to learn about rescued animals and to understand the importance of kindness and compassion. Bella watched cautiously as the children approached, unsure of their intentions. But the rancher knelt nearby and spoke softly, encouraging her to meet them. Tentatively, Bella stepped forward, sniffing the hands of the children who offered gentle touches and soft words. She felt no fear, only curiosity and a growing trust. The children giggled as she nuzzled them, her gentle nature bringing smiles to their faces. This experience became a turning point for Bella. She realized that her journey was not just about survival or freedom, it was about inspiring others. Her story, though she could not speak it in words, was being told through her actions, her calm demeanor, and her willingness to trust again. People could see that animals like Bella were not just property or commodities but living beings with feelings, intelligence, and the right to live freely. This realization filled Bella with a quiet pride, a sense of purpose that went beyond her own life. Bella's influence on the farm extended beyond the younger animals. Even the older cows seemed to respond to her presence with a renewed sense of calm and companionship. Her energy and curiosity brought a sense of liveliness to the fields, encouraging others to explore, play, and engage with their surroundings. The goats and smaller animals followed her lead in games and activities, learning from her patience and gentle guidance. Bella had become a symbol of hope and resilience, a living example of what could happen when compassion guided human actions. The rancher often reflected on Bella's journey, amazed at how much she had grown and healed. He remembered the day he had first seen her, cowering in the corner of the barn, uncertain and fearful. He remembered the negotiations with her previous owners, the quiet moments of trust building, and the early days of exploration and play. Now seeing her move confidently through the fields, interacting with other animals and greeting visitors with gentle curiosity, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Bella had not just survived, she had thrived. The seasons continued to change, bringing new experiences and challenges. In the spring, the fields were filled with fresh grass, flowers, and the sounds of nesting birds. Bella reveled in the abundance, discovering new scents and tastes, and feeling the soft earth under her hooves. Summer brought long, warm days where she could run freely, chase Max the goat, or splash in the stream with other animals. Autumn brought cooler breezes and falling leaves, which she would explore and sometimes playfully toss with her hooves. Even winter, with its cold winds and occasional snow, became a time of adaptation and reflection, teaching her resilience and patience. One day, the rancher introduced a new project to the farm, a small sanctuary program for animals rescued from farms where they were in danger. Bella watched as new arrivals came, scared and uncertain, much like she had once been. Her heart went out to them, and instinctively she approached with the same gentleness and care that others had shown her. She nudged them softly, guided them to safe spots, and offered companionship. The rancher observed her, noting how naturally she had become a mentor and protector, and he realized that Bella's influence extended far beyond her own life. She had become a teacher of trust, empathy, and resilience for all who encountered her. Bella's story gradually spread through the local community. People came to visit, inspired by the tale of the little calf who had been saved from a harsh fate and had grown into a thriving, compassionate leader. Children learned about kindness, families learned about the importance of protecting animals, and other farmers learned the value of compassion over profit. Bella, in her quiet way, had become a symbol of hope and change. Her journey showed that even in the darkest circumstances, life could be transformed through love, care, and determination. Over time, Bella developed a routine that balanced freedom, exploration, and social interaction. She would wake early, graze in the fresh morning grass, explore hidden corners of the pasture, and play with her friends. Afternoons were often spent resting near the barn, receiving gentle care from the rancher, and observing new animals as they adjusted to the farm. Evenings were a time of reflection, lying on the soft grass, watching the sunset and appreciating the life she now had. Each day reinforced the lessons she had learned: trust, resilience, courage, and the joy of companionship. Bella also became a source of emotional support for the rancher. He would sometimes talk to her about his day, his worries, or his hopes for the farm, and she would respond with gentle nudges or calm presence. Her ability to sense emotions, both human and animal, made her a special companion. She had learned to read body language, tone, and intention, and she used this skill to comfort others. Animals who were nervous or afraid would often seek her out, lying near her or following her lead. Humans, too, felt a sense of peace in her presence, as if she carried a quiet wisdom that transcended words. One bright afternoon, Bella found herself standing on a small hill overlooking the farm. The wind rustled through her fur, carrying the scents of grass, flowers, and distant trees. She felt the warmth of the sun on her back and the soft earth beneath her hooves. She remembered the farm she had left behind, the trucks, the whispers, and the fear that had haunted her early months. Now she felt a deep sense of gratitude, a recognition of how far she had come. She had survived, she had healed, and she had found a life filled with freedom, care, and friendship. Bella's influence continued to grow. New animals arrived at the farm, and she became their guide, teaching them that fear could be replaced by trust, and that life could be filled with joy and companionship. Visitors came to see her, inspired by her journey and the care she had received. Children learned lessons of empathy and kindness, while adults saw the transformative power of compassion. Bella had become more than a cow. She was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the impact one life could have when nurtured with care. The rancher often reflected on the journey that had brought Bella to the farm. He remembered her frightened eyes, her cautious steps, and the way she had gradually learned to trust. He felt pride in her growth and gratitude for the opportunity to change her life. But he also knew that Bella had taught him lessons as well, about patience, empathy, courage, and the transformative power of kindness. Together, they had created a life that honored her spirit and celebrated her resilience. As time went on, Bella continued to thrive. She ran freely in the fields, played with friends, guided newcomers, and rested under the shade of trees. She had discovered that life could be full of beauty, safety, and love, and she carried this knowledge in every step. The fear that had once defined her existence had faded, replaced by a quiet confidence and a deep understanding of the value of care and compassion. Bella's journey, from a frightened calf facing an uncertain and dangerous future to a strong, confident, and compassionate leader, had reached a fulfilling chapter. She had experienced fear, loss, and uncertainty, but she had also discovered hope, trust, and freedom. Her story became a source of inspiration, teaching all who encountered her that life could be transformed through love, patience, and understanding. In the quiet evenings, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the farm settled into calm, Bella would lie on the soft grass, her heart full and her mind at peace. She had found her place in the world, a life shaped not by fear, but by care, kindness, and resilience. The rancher would sit nearby, watching her with a gentle smile, knowing that together they had created a sanctuary not just for Bella, but for all who would come to the farm seeking safety and hope. Bella's story was more than just her own. It was a story of courage, transformation, and the power of compassion. From the brink of a dark fate to the freedom of a life fully lived, she had become a living testament to the difference that one act of kindness could make. Her journey inspired everyone who heard it, showing that no matter how difficult the beginning, a life of love, trust, and hope was always possible. And so Bella lived her days surrounded by freedom, friends, and care. A cow who had faced fear and uncertainty, but who had emerged stronger, wiser, and full of life. Her legacy was not just in the fields she roamed, the animals she guided, or the people she inspired. It was in the quiet reminder that compassion could change a destiny forever, and that every life, no matter how small, deserved a chance to thrive.